Hey guys, Jasmine here with another video, something completely different than what I'm used to making, but I couldn't help but share this very valuable lesson that I was able to learn. So let me share a quick story with you guys. So on January 1st, I had planned a trip to go visit my boyfriend in Southern California. And so obviously, I was excited and looking forward to it. And so in order to prepare for this trip, my parents had told me that I needed to change the tire to my car because it had been going flat for like a few weeks. And we would pump air into it, and like every 3 days we would have to pump air again because it would start going flat. And so I was like, okay, yeah, I'll get it done. And so the day right before it, for whatever reason, I wasn't able to get it done. And so that night my mom was like, hey Jasmine, like you didn't change the tires, so I better not get any calls that you are having any tire issues or whatever. And so I was like, no, it'll be fine. I'll just keep an eye on it. I'll stop at gas stations and I'll check it and pump more air if I need more air and stuff. And in my mind I was like, it's lasted me 2 to 3 days. So I was like, I think it should be fine. And so I kid you not, like literally an hour and a half into my trip down to see my boyfriend, my tire popped. And so the first thought was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it just happened. I guess in my mind I was like, it's a possibility that it could happen, but I trusted that it wouldn't happen. And so when it did happen, I was just like, oh no. And so I took the exit right away because it was like right there. And so I was like, oh my goodness, what am I gonna do? Like I stayed there for a few minutes just thinking about what am I gonna do? I can't call my parents. Like they told me not to call them because, and I don't know. I guess most importantly, I felt embarrassed, and I just felt like, wow, like Jasmine, seriously, like you should have gotten that tire and you didn't. But I guess, I didn't want to waste more time. So got help. They helped me change the tire. They put the spare one, they put the bad one in the trunk. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to risk driving all the way there with a spare tire. Even though the person that helped me out was like, no, you'll make it, spare tire, it's good. And like, you'll make it all the way. But I was like, I don't want to risk it. Let's get a new tire. So I drove 10 more minutes up to Walmart and I got a new tire. Thankfully, they were open because, New Year's Day. Walmart's always open though. But they were open, and so I bought a new tire. I was back on the road, and I was like, okay, I'm back on the road. It's okay. I called my parents by that point. I had already called them, and I was like, this happened. They were obviously disappointed, and I got the I told you so. But more than anything, they were concerned and worried, and just make sure everything's okay. And so then I continued my trip, and again 40 minutes later, after the new tire, it popped again. And at that point I was stuck in the middle of the freeway. There's no exits near me. I was scared. I was like, why? Like, what in the world? This is a new tire. This shouldn't have happened now. And so I was disappointed in myself. I was just overwhelmed. I was sad. There was so many emotions, negative emotions, and like me being like, why did this have to happen now? Now I won't be able to make it to my trip. Before I was like, okay, I lost an hour, but we're good, we're back on the road. But now it's like, I don't think I'm gonna make it. I don't think it's meant for me to go all the way down there or something. And so then I was stuck there for maybe like 30 to 40 minutes trying to get someone to like stop and help me out. Finally someone did stop and helped me out, but by then it was already too late. So my boyfriend came down and like helped me and whatever. But the whole time I was thinking, wow, hearing the words I told you so are very hard. And it I guess it takes, it has to do with our pride. We don't want to hear I told you so, especially in those situations, and especially when you're like, I knew so, like now I know so. And so like you don't want to hear that. But it just, I guess, as I'm not gonna say that in that moment I was like, God, what are you trying to tell me? Because in that moment, no, I was disappointed, and I kept thinking about things I wanted to do, and so all at the same time, I felt embarrassed because I was like, I should have listened to my parents. Like if I would have listened, I wouldn't have been here. Like the first tire wouldn't have happened, so therefore the second one wasn't gonna happen either. But because of one bad choice, it just kind of led to all this dilemma, and I wasn't able to make it. I was disappointed. you know, it just reminded me that, you know, God does the same thing to us. You know, just like our parents, you know, they tell us, you know, I told you so, because they love us. They tell us, they warn us about things that could possibly happen, and yet we don't listen. You know, God does the same thing. You know, he warns us about things to come, and he tells us because he loves us and he wants us to be prepared for the road. And so it just reminds me of John 16:4, where he tells his disciples, you know, I tell you these things so that when they come, you may remember that I warned you about them. And you know, God told his disciples about all these things that were going to happen because he loved them and he wanted them to be prepared. And what happened, you know, January 1st, you know, I was just reminded that God wants me to remember his word. He wants me to remember, you know, his love for me. He wants me to remember, you know, all these things that I've had learned throughout my life, because he loves me and he wants me to be prepared for these things to come. And as the year is starting, you know, new year 2021, you know, we're all looking forward to the things that are going to happen this year. You know, whether that's, you know, school, work, you know, life in general, like, you know, we're all excited for it, especially coming out of the year 2020, where, you know, everything seemed to be going wrong, like one thing after another, and it was just like, what's next, you know? And but even then, I think God, you know, had warned us about these things. You know, it shouldn't catch us by surprise, because we know that these things were going to happen. You know, all these things happened in 2020, you know, are things that, you know, we have been warned about, and more things are bound to happen. And, you know, God only wants us to be prepared. And I think starting off the new year for me in this way, even though in the moments it felt like such a disappointment, it has now opened my eyes to realize that God is trying to teach me something, and he's trying to remind me that I need to be well prepared before hitting the road. I take that in a spiritual aspect, because I know God wants me to be prepared for what's to come. And, you know, as we all know, you know, there's things that are going to happen in this world that aren't going to be great, and God wants us to cling to him and to be prepared. And, you know, and when those things do happen, he will tell us, you know, I told you so. And he tells us that because he loves us and he wants us to be prepared. And so this year, you know, I want to encourage you guys to trust God. Most importantly, like, don't trust yourself, because trust me, things won't go right when we trust our own selves. And we need to trust God and prepare ourselves with the things that he has, you know, warned us about. And, you know, the only way we can prepare ourselves is by, you know, praying more, spending more time with him, reading his word, and falling in love with him, you know, more and more each day. So this is a short story that I wanted to share with you guys, because even though in the moment it didn't feel like a blessing, you know, now I've come to realize that it's a huge blessing for me, and I want to continue on this year with that in mind, and, you know, better prepare myself for whatever God has prepared for me down the road. So hope you guys are blessed by it, and, you know, thank you guys so much for listening to this short story. And, you know, yeah, God bless you guys, and bye.